did. Al-Jahiz had ideas very similar to Darwin's idea of natural selection. He saw that animals are always competing for things like food, water, and a place to live. Al-Jahiz realized that some animals have traits that help them survive better. These lucky animals live longer, have babies, and pass on their helpful traits. Over a long time, Al-Jahiz thought, this could create brand new types of animals that are better suited to their environment. Imagine a time long ago, a golden age of learning. From this time came a super smart scholar named Al-Jahiz. He was interested in everything. He studied religion, geography, and how we think. But what made him really famous was his work with animals, especially his ideas about how animals change over time. Al-Jahiz didn't just want to describe animals, he wanted to understand why they were the way they were. Way before the famous scientist Darwin, Al-Jahiz had similar ideas about how animals adapt. He studied how animals copy each other, how they fight to survive, and how the world around them changes them. His most famous book shows just how smart and careful he was. This video is all about this amazing thinker. We'll learn about Al-Jahiz's life and how his world, the bustling city of Baghdad, helped him come up with his groundbreaking ideas. Al-Jahiz was born in Basra, which is in modern-day Iraq, in the year 776. Basra was a busy port city, a place where people from all over met and shared ideas. It was like a big mix of cultures, connecting the Islamic world with Africa, Asia, and Europe. This made it a perfect place to learn new things. Lots of smart people came to Basra's mosques, libraries, and even just chatted in the streets. Al-Jahiz, even though his family wasn't rich, grew up in this exciting place. His family knew education was important. Young Al-Jahiz spent his time learning in Basra's schools. He learned about religion, grammar, and even the writings of Greek thinkers and scientists. Learning so much made him even more curious about the world. When Al-Jahiz was alive, something big happened. Paper became popular. This new technology, which came from China, made it much easier to spread knowledge. Paper was much cheaper than what they used before, so books became cheaper too. More people learned to read and they wanted more books. This was great for Al-Jahiz. With paper, he could write down all his amazing ideas. Now he could share them with even more people. He wrote tons of books about all sorts of things, from how to write well to his amazing discoveries about animals. Being a writer back then wasn't always easy. Writers often needed rich people or rulers to give them money so they could live. But Al-Jahiz liked to say what he thought, even if it upset powerful people. So he didn't always get that support. To make money, Al-Jahiz sold his books and taught others. Even though it was hard, Al-Jahiz loved to write. He was great at telling stories that everyone could understand. He used funny stories, interesting facts, and exciting descriptions to explain complicated ideas in a simple way. This made his books popular with everyone, not just scholars. Al-Jahiz's most famous book shows how much he loved nature. This huge book with 7 parts is full of amazing animal facts and stories. It talks about all kinds of animals, from tiny bugs to big mammals. Al-Jahiz carefully describes what they look like, how they act, where they live, and even how smart they seem. What makes so special isn't just how much it covers, but how deeply Al-Jahiz thought about animals. He didn't just describe them, he tried to understand why they do what they do and how they all fit together in the world. He watched how animals interacted with each other and their environment, noticing how everything was connected. The most amazing thing about is how it talks about evolution way before anyone else did. Al-Jahiz had ideas very similar to Darwin's idea of natural selection. He saw that animals are always competing for things like food, water, and a place to live. Al-Jahiz realized that some animals have traits that help them survive better. These lucky animals live longer, have babies, and pass on their helpful traits. Over a long time, Al-Jahiz thought, this could create brand new types of animals that are better suited to their environment. He also noticed how some animals copy the looks or actions of more dangerous animals to stay safe. Al-Jahiz didn't just think about how animals looked and survived, he also wondered how they thought. Back then, most people thought animals just acted on instinct, but Al-Jahiz thought animals were smarter than that. He thought they could learn, solve problems, and even have feelings. He carefully wrote down examples of how animals talk to each other, live together, and work as a team. He described how ants build their homes, how bees do special dances to tell each other where to find food, and how crows can figure out tricky puzzles. Al-Jahiz saw that animals were more complex than people thought. He believed that learning about animals could teach us about ourselves too. Al-Jahiz lived a long life and died in 868 AD when he was 93 years old. A story says he died under a big pile of his books, a perfect ending for someone who loved learning so much. His many books on so many different topics were very important to the Golden Age of Islam and even after. His work inspired many other important thinkers. People carefully copied his books by hand so that his ideas wouldn't be lost. People all over the world studied his writings. His interesting ideas and fun writing style kept people reading his work for hundreds of years. Al-Jahiz was a super important scientist. He shows us how powerful it is to be curious, to look closely at the world and to think for yourself. Hundreds of years before Darwin, he had similar ideas about how animals change over time. He understood how animals are connected, how the world around them affects them, and how important it is to adapt to survive. His isn't just about animals, it's a look inside the mind of a brilliant person trying to understand the natural world. Al-Jahiz's work is also important because it shows us how exciting the Golden Age of Islam was. His work reminds us that it's important to share knowledge with everyone. By learning about people like Al-Jahiz, we can better understand the history of science and how people have always tried to understand the world.